What is it like being a Jamaican living in Cincinnati, Ohio, in the United States? Hi, I'm Xavier Murphy, the founder of Jamaicans.com, and today in Jamaicans to the World, I talk to Norbert Thomas, a Jamaican living in Ohio. Norbert, how you doing, sir?
My idea, I feel good. Thanks for having me.
Which part of Jamaica you come from?
Ah, another clock down on Waltham Park Road, close to Hagley Park Road. A little area off of Waltham Park, what they call Mongoose Town. I don't know if you
Oh,
ever hear about it, but a whole lot of people know it, Mongoose Town. So there is Hagley Park Road, and if you're heading on Waltham Park Road going towards town, so you head towards town on the right hand side, right after Hagley Park, there's Gretna Green by the gas station. Then after Gretna Green, the next road is Howard Avenue. Down Howard Avenue, me
all right, all right. We'll get a really good description there. We didn't have to turn at the guango tree and then you see a man sit down there, so and when if you not have him hand this way, you make the left, and if you have him hand this way, you turn right.
You make it right.
So which which school are you representing?
Oh, I have to be the college, one blue college, Jamaica College. As them say, the college was so fine we had to name an island after it.
Ah, so folks, I have one of my
Alumni.
schoolmates from back in the day at Jamaica College on. So, is there a teacher that you remember that really impacted your life?
Yes. Well, I tell you, my years at JC was 78 to 83. I wasn't fortunate enough to go sixth form, so that was just from first to fifth form, 78 to 83. Um, Teachers, Mr. Forrest. Mr. Forrest was a math teacher. Dreadlocks. I never seen dreads down, but it always neatly tucked under the thumb. And he taught me a lot with maths and the logics behind dealing with numbers and stuff like that. In fact, I tried to emulate him because he was the first person who wrote the figure 8 with two zeros touching one another. Everybody else do the cross thing, but him do
Right.
008, and it looked so cool. So I start try write me 8 them way there. So that was my teacher, Mr. Forrest. And then there was Miss Roper. Miss Roper was a Spanish
Spanish,
teacher.
Spanish teacher.
Yes, you remember her?
Yes.
Tall and I mean, if me can't say this, but I say this in a respectful way. Good looking, but to us, we did tiny. So she probably was my height that I am now, but me did so much shorter. She looked tall to me. So Miss Roper and Mr. Forrest was two people who made a good impact on me. And there are others who have, smaller impacts. I can't name them all, but Miss Roper and Mr. Forrest stood out. Of course, Mr. Cummings, that man have a brain that is bigger than the world. And not forget nobody name, and I know how him do it. Me used to think say him know your name because you do something, and them have to call you in the office and talk to you. Say the man called me by name, just walking out in the schoolyard. I mean, I never have no interaction with him, Mr. Thomas. Say for
Yes.
the backside this. Oh, you know my name. That man know everybody name. But anyway, it's his gift.
Mr. Cummins knew every single student's name, even though he had no interaction with them. None.
Yeah, none. I
Um,
don't know how him do it.
an
But good.
amazing man that walked, always walking on his way to school. You'd
Hmm.
see him up Old Hope Road, walking up
Yes,
Old Hope Road. Man, I'm telling you, those days.
Cummings one.
So, to tell us about your journey to the United States and how you ended up in Ohio.
Well, let me see. Where it start now? After GSC, so I started working because Mongoose Town is a ghetto place. Have the resources like other people have. So we had to start, contribute to the house and the operations, and the available funds was just enough for carry me through school, but there wasn't the sixth form and the college at the time. So we start work, and after working for a few years, I decided that I would love to be able to do some more school, but we can't do it at home, their yard. So I had two brothers, two older brothers from father side. We never grew together. In fact, the younger of the two older brothers is 18 years older than me. So, and then the other one was 2 years older than him, making 20. So 18 and 20 older than me. They had left Jamaica from the 70s. So while me there JC, them left Jamaica and then go Mexico. And then from Mexico, them go back to the States. So we were in touch, during the seasonal time, like Christmas and all, because, your family send or bring Christmas gift for you. So me and the younger one, Keith is his name, we start talk. At them time they appear, letter we write. You remember writing letter?
Yes, I
Post letter, put stamp on envelope, post. Yeah, so we start to talk and him, give me the idea. So well, he could have filed for me and we can come up and do the schooling thing and no problem. So we start that process. At the time, this was in 1985. It was supposed to be 5 years, a 5-year wait, because siblings, brother to brother. But the fourth year, the embassy and the government changed their plan and they make it 10 years. So now we had to wait an additional 6 years. So during that time, of course, we get married, start the family. But when my time came in 95, so it's time to pack up and leave, and I ended up in Florida, because that's where my brother was staying. He lived in Kendall at the time. So I migrated to Florida, started there, started to work. But of course, for some people might know me, I was already doing media communications, radio and television back in backyard with work with JIS, work with JBC, and some other production houses. And so when I came to the States, I continued in the same thing, working at some television station on Miami Beach, Fox, WSVN.
Channel 7.
Channel 7, Fox affiliate. So that's where I landed up. In addition to that, I also ended up at a photographer's place, Dale Labs, because before I left Jamaica, I had started freelance photography.
Okay.
Because long before we had online classes as we know it now, we used to call it correspondence school. My brother, during the wait time that I was waiting for the embassy, him lined me up with some correspondence photography from New York Institute of Photography. And I studied with them correspondence and started doing photography a yard. And so when I came up in Miami, I started working with a photo company and then transitioned over to the television station and then started working at Miami-Dade College. And then I decided to continue with schooling and did online college. And so did that, was successful, got the bachelor's, went on to a master's. And then that was in 2003 when I was finished with that, started applying and looking around for some better jobs, now that I have more oomph to market myself. And a company in Cincinnati saw me and reached out to me and interviewed me, and they were happy with me, and they took me from Miami. They moved me from Miami to Cincinnati to be the education director for a broadcasting school. And the school at the time, the name of the school was the Ohio Center for Broadcasting. The school still exists, but they changed the name now. It's called the Ohio Media School. But they did radio and television broadcasting, which is what I did from home, continued in Miami. And so I was I was primed for what they wanted. So I joined them as the education director. So that was it. 95, I came and stayed in Miami for 8 years, then moved to Cincinnati in 2003. And here I am.
So, folks, Norbert mentioned, his broadcasting background and experience, and in my conversations with him, I've learned that he is the voice of some Royal Caribbean. I don't know if it's announcements or different items. So, if you recognize the voice and you're like, I heard that voice on a cruise ship
Yes.
or something. That is the voice you're hearing right now.
Yes, it's the video that plays those ship that dock in Jamaica. So there's a video for every port that they're going to dock, where they give you an overview of what the country is about, the culture, what to expect, do's and don'ts, and all that kind of thing. So for those ship that goes to Ocho Rios or Falmouth or Montego Bay, those are the ships that would have my voice on the video presentation talking about Jamaica.
I am going to be paying attention the next cruise I take that stops in Jamaica to say, I know that voice, yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I have copies of it. I'm going to send it to you so you can see it and listen to it ahead of time.
So tell us about you tell us about the journey, but was there some type of culture shock when you moved from Jamaica to the United States?
Oh yeah, I think everybody go through it, and not just Jamaicans. I think everybody um, from anywhere will come to the United States gonna have culture shock, but more so from the Caribbean, because the differences are so vast. I think for the first 2 to 3 years, I was in culture shock. I mean, I remember very vividly one of the things that made me go, huh? Was I prepared my resume before I left, and it was looked over by professionals and vetted and to be good. And I came up and I went to a job agency, and they got me registered. And you have your resume. I say yes, here it is, and look at it and then carry it. I think there's a walkway that I could see them, and they all gathered around, and them, chat and a giggle, and them a point on things, and then the man come back with it and ask me, are you serious about getting a job? I said, yes. He said, well, there's so much errors in your resume. I said, what kind of errors you talking about? All these words, these are incorrect words. I said, not incorrect in my resume. But so it dawned upon me that we're
The
going to have to
British.
change a whole heap of word, because them don't know these words or just spelled differently here. So that was one of the things when we had to go through. So, when you talk about
Yes,
route and route,
right.
or program, where we spell it MME, them stop at the first M,
Yes.
or things like, I went to a restaurant and asked the waiter for a serviette, and the waiter bring the menu to me. And I said, what must do with this? He said, you wanted a serviette. I said, no, the paper we use, wipe your mouth and your hand. Oh, he said, oh, a napkin. I said, yes. So there's, the words
Restroom,
just different.
restroom and toilet. Restroom and
Ye-
toilet.
Yes. And of course, the culture, the mindset is, especially in Miami, was
So
very different from what I was, you know, back then in Jamaica. When I know how it is now, because I 30 years now me left. Um, we not deal with black and white. You're Jamaican. If you live at Jamaica long enough, you're Jamaican. Definitely, if you're born there, you're Jamaican. We not deal with black Jamaican, white Jamaican. We not know them suddenly. And then we come to Miami, and every other commercial is black owned. You know, support your people. We are black owned, and this. I mean, what that mean? You
yeah,
know,
that
well,
that can be a culture shock. Just how how folks really talk, how they, to me, to an extent, folks don't communicate enough, and I'll leave it at that. They don't communicate enough. But there probably was a shock too from Miami to Ohio, because these are two different states, and folks always think, you live in the United States, it's America, everything is the same, but state by state, cultures are so
So,
different.
so different, yes. And even though it's called the United States, there's really not much that is united between the states. Judicially, all the states make their own rules. Of course, federal rules kind of, they try to be consistent, but locally at state rules, everybody's allowed to do what they want in their state. So that's another thing to when you travel. I the things that I can do in Ohio on the road, I find this out by trial and error when I leave Ohio and I drive and go into another state and do what I am accustomed to, and police draw down upon me. And whoa, 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 whoa. I said, "Wow, well, you just did that." But I do that well, it's not allowed here.
It's a
What?
it's
And
the
there's
right.
no sign. And there's no sign that
You're supposed,
says
you're supposed to
you're
know.
supposed to just know.
Yeah, it's a right turn. You can make a right on a red light in some states, and in some states
But you
you can't
can't
make
in
a right.
others.
You can't make
That
it.
is
Also
exactly what caught me. That is
culture.
exactly what caught me. You know it.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, but
yeah, every
but but
state.
you know, after living in Miami, the culture shock from Jamaica to Miami opened my eyes, and then I realized now that there is things I have to be aware of. So when I moved to Ohio, I was in a state of heightened awareness. So the shock was not as great, and it did not last as long, because now I was more aware that there are very much differences. So
So
I was kind of on the lookout,
so let me
for them.
ask you. Let me ask you this question, because my experience traveling to Ohio, where did I go? I went where I visited, and I know I'm dating myself. CompuServe had an office there in Ohio.
Yes, off of the 275, yeah, in Blue Ash, in that area.
Okay, I, all I remember, but what I remember is the folks were so friendly in Ohio. It was almost scary friendly. You're leaving
Mm.
from South Florida, where you say good morning, and somebody might get, hey, look, people are just extremely friendly. I don't know if that's been your experience living in Ohio, the friendliness.
Well, it has been the reverse actually for me. To me, people in South Florida were more welcoming and friendlier because there was more. It's more of a melting pot. New York, Miami, LA, because these are main ports that the
Right.
planes and the ships go in, a lot of people tend to end up there first. That's their first point of contact. Some people disperse after a while, but a lot of them stay there, coming from everywhere. So those ports have a lot of mixture of people. And in my experience was in South Florida, in Miami, it was more of a friendlier thing. Here in Ohio, for one, the Caribbean and the Jamaican population is not as strong. It's not as great. It's not as much of
I,
us.
I was gonna go ask about that. How many, and if there's an association, or if celebrate independence and all of that.
Right. No, and if there are a lot of us, it's not as organized, so we don't see everybody. You only
Uh,
see a few where they write in your immediate circles and things. We don't have no Jamaican group. There was one that was trying to start because then they wrote me in at one point and at the initial stages, but for whatever reason it never get off the ground. So the best you can hope for is a friend or two where you have and for them friend who have for them friend, and will meet up at a house for a house party or a seasonal thing, whether it's a Christmas thing or Independence Day thing, but that's just a small group of friends. It's nothing very organized where everybody from all over Cincinnati will come in.
I
But
see.
yeah, and another thing I've seen here in Cincinnati, people tend to be very um it might be because of the times and not so much the cultural difference, but everybody tend to mind their own business, and nobody don't really want to help you out, talk to you, you know,
Mm,
or volunteer information, because so many people in this country you get sued for the slightest of things, even though your intentions are good. You try help somebody. One of the things that we notice here is if somebody brought down on the street, as much as I'm a Caribbean person when we're their yard, you see so much people stop for offer help. You know, do them something here because they don't trust you. Them want the help, but they don't trust you for come help them. If it's not somebody them know, them take offense to it, and you get in a trouble for pull over, and even though you say something and you greet people, them you next thing you hear some officer come on your door saying you threatened somebody or you said the wrong thing, and what I was
yeah,
trying to help.
yeah.
So everybody just kind of mind their own business and stay in them little circle, and
In a
them
house.
watch you from afar. They will watch you get into trouble and then can help you, but they not help you because they
Mm,
don't want to get in a trouble.
mm.
That a simple little thing like when you drive when we're there at the yard and we drive and you pass a police speed trap. What we do?
Yeah.
Everybody talk to the oncoming vehicle and warn them, watch out. Police down the road. They not do that, Baba. You go running out yourself. You'll find out when you get there if you drive too fast.
Oh, cost of
Nobody not
living.
help you. Yeah.
I'm going to switch
Well,
up a little bit. Cost of living. What's the cost of living like there? I know you're in a city, but statewide city, your city. What's cost of living?
well, I don't know the figures, but I can tell you it's very cheaper to live in Cincinnati, Ohio, than a lot of other places, especially Miami, or Texas, or definitely California and New York.
Yeah, you can't. I want to put New York in and California in there.
Yeah, life here, you can make headway much faster. You can accumulate bigger. You can be comfortable, more comfortable, easier in
Okay.
Ohio. So things are nice here. I mean, people complain about everything anywhere
Yes.
until
Yes.
them see elsewhere, then they realize, oh, we have it good, you know. So,
So
but yeah, cost of living in Cincinnati here is nice. It's good.
good, good. So where do you get your Jamaican food fix? Is there a couple restaurants around? Are you cooking it on
Yes,
your own or?
there's a few. I wish there were more. Some of them have closed, and some of them new
Mm,
ones have opened. Some of them have maintained. One of the problems we run into though is not always Jamaicans in the kitchen. So a few of them start out that way, but because of economic reasons, it's probably hard to find the Jamaicans. Like I say, it's not many of us here, so they end up using non-Caribbean or non-Jamaican people and try teach them, but they are teach them from books. The
right.
books say use 2 ounce and and 3 of this, but we know we go by the taste. It's not how much the book say. Is when it reached that sweet point, yes, I have it. I have it. So, but yeah, sometimes I do my own cooking, and sometimes I go out and get it.
All right. All right. I was saying it's like my mom, I'd say, mommy, right, right, it's like a little of this, a little of that, and them know the measurement is in them head.
It's here. Yes, yes, it's up there. We eyeball it, as we say.
So what would you say was one of the biggest adjustments you had to make when you moved to Ohio?
Um, Biggest adjustment.
No, no. Let me say what I know. I wouldn't move to Ohio because snow.
Oh, no, now that you mention it, when I was in Miami, so coming from Jamaica, tropical, to Miami, tropical, but yet every Christmas we sing about snow, and we have songs where we talk about the seasons and autumn and all of this, and I've never experienced it. So when I was looking for jobs, when I was still in Miami, my intent was to move somewhere where I could see and experience the seasons.
Oh
My
wow!
intent was to go to New York that end because I knew about New York. Well, I'm glad I didn't end up there. I'm glad the job took me here because this is a good halfway point. So yeah, moving to Ohio, I had to get used to, and very quick, the snow and the cold, which is going on right now. Because right now outside there's about 22 degrees, and water freeze at 32 or 31. So with the below freezing, and there's a whole heap of snow out there on the ground right now.
Yes,
It's getting hot. It turned hard. Excuse me, like ice. So
yeah.
driving in snow, dealing with the cold temperatures, that is the biggest change I've had to do coming from Jamaica to Miami and then here to Cincinnati.
Ohio.
That
If
definitely was it.
if there's one thing you'd say if somebody visited Ohio, you'd say, if you come in, come around this time. That could be it, or you could say there's an event. Come see this event in Ohio, or it could be a place. What would that be for you if somebody visiting?
Definitely come to the summer. Summer is nice.
Okay.
Here, the summer is hot just like anywhere else. Probably not as hot as Phoenix, but it gets hot during the summer, so it's nice. And if you come from the Caribbean, you're used to that, so that's no problem. As far as events, we have a lot of food events that go on. So if they come to Cincinnati, I would say come during the May, June type. I think that's when a lot of the food events, the food festivals happen. We call it the Taste of Cincinnati. And the Taste of Cincinnati have cuisines from everybody who have lived or have connection or have nationality somewhere else, and they maintain it while they're here. So now is the time for them to shine and expose that to everybody. So you have the Germans, the Russians, the Caribbeans, the Europeans, the Latins, the Africans, the South Americans, everybody, there's a representation of everybody here and their type of food. So we have a lot of food festivals that go on,
Awesome,
definitely.
awesome. So I have a scenario for you. You get on the plane. You're going to Jamaica. You get out the airport. What is that first thing that
Patty,
you?
we have to have a tasty patty. That's the first thing me I gotta do before me left the airport. A tasty patty I for going in my mouth.
You know exactly what you're getting.
And the nostalgia of it. I mean, there's patty places here. I mean, I've done commercials for Golden Crust, who they're based in. I think their headquarters is in New York, but
New
they
York.
have shops all over the country. But them no. I mean, the patty is for someone who has never had tasty. Then will enjoy Golden Crust. And I enjoy the Golden Crust because if I feel I need a patty, that's the best I'm gonna get.
Right.
But we've been introduced to tasty. There's nothing like a tasty patty. So when I can get a tasty patty, I have to get a tasty patty. That reminds me, I am Jamaican.
Norbert, listen, I appreciate you taking the time to tell us about your experience, living in Ohio, living in Cincinnati, and your journey there. Any closing words, piece of advice for folks who are thinking to move to the state of Ohio or the Cincinnati area?
The one thing I wish was different with Cincinnati is air travel. You know, to Miami, to New York, even to California, maybe even Texas, they always have specials where you can jump on a plane for $100 or even a round trip for 150, at certain times of the year. Cincinnati don't have nothing like that. We have some of the most expensive airfare because it's not a populated route that goes to the Caribbean. So it's not a lot of people that travel that from here to there. So if it were more, then the demand would make the price drop. The competition would make the price drop. So that's one thing that I really I miss, especially because I started out in Miami. If I
Okay.
go back home, I have to spend some good $800, $900 to
Oh
get back.
man. Oh, that's
Yeah,
a
if I was in Miami, I could go home for $200.
well, I don't know about $200,
Well,
but
much
no,
less than the eight or
I
900.
hear. But I think, and I'm not sure if you heard the question. The question was advice. Any
Yes,
advice you'd give? Okay, I think you're getting there. All right.
I coming to it.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you can make a life here, it is a nice place, um, like anywhere else in the United States. There are quirks, there are little nuances about every area, but outside of that, Cincinnati is lovely. I mean, before I even think about coming to Cincinnati, there was a television series I used to watch called WKRP in
Yes,
Cincinnati.
I remember that.
It's it, it's a fake name, but it's very close to the real thing. We have a WKR something or WK something P. It's very close, but the WKRP in Cincinnati was, it was made up, but a lot of what they talk about or do was very similar. So we have some iconic things here, and we are right on. Cincinnati is right at the bottom of South Ohio, of Southern Ohio. So the Cincinnati metropolitan area takes in also northern Kentucky. So
Oh,
our airport, which is go by the letter CVG. CVG stands for Covington. Covington is actually across the river in Kentucky. Most people don't know that, especially the ones who visit. They know we're going to Cincinnati. The letter is CVG, but they don't know it's a CVG. They actually land in Kentucky and they drive over. But because it's so close, so it's
right.
Cincinnati and northern Kentucky. And so we have that advantage of all the things that happen in northern Kentucky becomes a part of Cincinnati.
I
So
see.
if you hear about the Ark Encounter, which is down there in Kentucky, where they build this ark based on the real cubic measurements from the Bible, and it's
Mhm.
on display. There's a creation museum in Kentucky. Amazon is very big here in Kentucky and Ohio. So we have a lot of landmarks here, and overall, it's a nice place to live. I like it. I enjoy it. I
Okay.
live in the suburbs, but the inner city is just as nice. Of
Okay.
course, any inner city will have bad sections, nice sections. So,
Right.
you know,
Right. Right.
um,
Okay.
but it's
All
good. You can make a life,
right.
a
Good. Good.
decent life.
Well, Norbert, thank you again for giving us just a little taste of living there in Ohio, and I should say, sneaking over to Kentucky sometimes, but in Ohio.
Yes. Yes, yes, sir.
Thank you again. And
Come on.
as we typically say, lick more, my brethren.
Yes, brother. Liquor more. See you later.
All right.
Respect.